Hey everyone, how are you doing? So today we have a special video because we are not going to talk about anything retro. Instead, we are going to be talking about the Xbox One, more specifically the Xbox One S. And the reason we are going to be talking about it is because we're going to try to get this one working. Little backstory to this, a friend of mine was going to be giving this to another friend of mine, but said, hey, it doesn't turn on, so you might have to get it fixed. And I said, well, let me take a look at it. I mean, I can't make it any worse, right? And it not powering on could be a number of things. It could be the power supply, it could be the power button. It might be actually powering on, but there's no video because of a bad HDMI port or a bad retimer chip or even a bad hard drive. So we're going to try to hook this up, see if it comes on. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll troubleshoot further. So let's go. All right, let's see if it works. And it does not. The power button doesn't even respond at all. Let's see if we can do a safe mode boot. Safe mode does not appear to work, so it might be a power supply issue. Let's take a further look. So I'm suspecting that there is something wrong with the power supply. And I'm not sure if it's coming out well on camera or not, but there's some discoloration here. At first I thought it was maybe UV and heat, discoloration that would require a retro brighting, but then remember that these consoles aren't that old and they shouldn't be yellowing yet. And I believe that they don't yellow nowadays anyway because they've changed the formulation of the plastic to avoid the yellowing. So my guess is something may have been spilled on here, and there could possibly be some liquid damage, but the only way I'm going to find out is to take it apart and open it. So we're going to do that, take a look and see if I can't find anything obvious, and then later on look for anything that might not be obvious. So to take, probably be easier if I flip it this way first, but to take it apart, the bottom piece here needs to be removed first, and then there are several screws that need to be removed. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a plastic pry tool. In fact, before I go further, similar color something on this sync button, so it's possible something was spilled on here. But we have to remove this first. That's a little better. I'm getting and I'm already seeing more potential liquid spillage. Yeah, there's definitely some spilled something on here. Juice, maybe, which I'm hoping it's not juice because that would be corrosive, as you can see already here. But the rest is just sticky residue and whatnot. But whatever, we'll have to get to that next. Hopefully this can be saved. But what we need to do next is remove several screws. I want to say it's all of these green ones. So there should be 6 of them. I might need something a little bit more. This is going to be stuck, I believe, to... I think that there's... There we are. No, not quite clips, but a lip of some sort. Well, here it's not too bad here. Some residue you can see here and here, and but the question is, what else happened with it? The foam is mostly intact. It might have a little bit of gunk there in the corner here. But here's the inside if you've never seen the inside of an Xbox One S. Microsoft conveniently labeled everything, not that it would be difficult to figure it out. In case you don't know, this was a fan. It's a fan. It's the hard drive, the optical drive. And this here is the power supply, handily labeled PWR. Relatively modular console. Once you get past the initial barriers with the outer shell and everything, pretty easy to take apart further and work on. I'm really hoping that there's no liquid damage on the board or the power supply, but considering it doesn't power on, you know, not so good of an omen. A little Master Chief Easter egg right there. So, let's see. I forget if I have to remove other components to get the power supply out, or if I can just disconnect it. I think there's a connector here, that clip. I won't be able to reach out in there though. Really don't want to have to remove the fan, but I may have to, just to get to it more easily. I'm pretty sure if I just remove these screws, we'll be okay. I may need to take apart the entire board anyway, based on all the liquid that's here, but looks like the hard drive bracket. Okay, well, there's no obvious liquid damage here. I'll have to take it apart further. Piece of plastic that broke off, that's fine. I may have to take this apart and examine it just to make sure nothing's spilled in there. But we'll go ahead and I guess I'll start removing everything else just because it's going to make it easier that way. But yeah, a very modular system overall. Looking at the board, at least from the top side, minus under the fan, I don't see any liquid damage on here. So I'll have to take a look at the bottom of the board, obviously, since that's where the liquid would have gotten through. And for that, I will have to remove the wireless module here, the front panel connector, as well as the Bluetooth antenna for the controllers. And then, of course, the fan, I believe. Actually, no, I think I can leave that on to remove the rest of the board. But let's see, these are probably not T10s. Yeah, those are probably 8. Ooh, a little bit of corrosion here. This board is going to have to be cleaned. Not sure if it's showing up on camera or not. But there's a little bit of dullness to the soldering here. So, not necessarily a good sign. Not a bad sign, but not necessarily a good one. But those are everything else. Now I just need to remove the B screws, B2 and B1, and I think that should be it. Oh no, and I also have to remove the screws from the X clamp. Should be this clamp here that comes off, I believe. Looks like, yeah. And then that should make it easier to lift the board out from the front. And that's it. Okay, not terrible. It looks like the majority of the liquid damage is Going to be along the edges here. Could also just be dried flux from the factory. I ran into that when I took mine apart to replace the hard drive. Initially, I don't see anything around the APU area. I may have to take apart the clamp further. Probably put some fresh thermal paste on there anyway. But this is going to need a cleaning either way. And yeah, that should be fun. Let me look at the capacitors. I don't see any leaking capacitors anywhere. Board smells a little musty. The through holes look fine. The surface mounts look fine. So yeah, I'm gonna go give this a bath. Well, take it apart further and soak it in some IPA. The board has a little bit of a flex to it, but that's probably fine. This here will have to, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to clean it just yet. The plastics, those should be no problem. I'll just soak those in soap. Give them a gentle scrubbing. But yeah, when I come back, hopefully everything will be nice and clean and I can do some further testing. Take apart the power supply, make sure that there's nothing shorted out inside. It should be disassembled easily. There's some clips. Hopefully there's no tricks or anything like that. But yeah, let's go and take care of that. Okay, so let's take a look at the power supply while all the other parts are soaking or derusting and decalcifying and all of that. So there are two clips, one here, and actually I think that's the only clip that's there. Everything else is kind of, well, there's clips inside, but that you have to separate. And I forget how I took it apart last time when I was repairing mine. So bear with me, but we're going to get this taken apart. I see a tiny bit of possible corrosion signs here, which would have come from the metal chassis itself. Obviously the plastic won't corrode, but hopefully there's nothing inside that is corroded. Let me try to get this thing apart and we'll go from there. There. All right, so the inside of the power supply, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. There. I don't see any signs of corrosion. A little bit on this shielding on the power connector here, but other than that, I don't know if, I don't believe this is screwed in. I don't see any screws, so it must just be held in place. Clips and stuff like that, possibly, unless, no, I don't see. Yeah, okay. apparently Microsoft engineers really like clips. I think this is okay. Again, other than a little bit there. If I can get a pin out of this, I can plug it in and see if there's a way to get power from it. I'm not sure if it'll always distribute power or if it's more like a PC power supply where a couple pins need to be shorter to do a soft on. So I'll have to find that out. So let me do that now and I'll be back. Alright, so I have it mostly reassembled, just not snapped in because I need to do some testing and I don't want to potentially electrocute myself. But when I had it open, all of the gray leads are going into a 12-volt line and all these are ground, so all the bottom rows are going to be 12 volt, all the top are ground. So let's see if I can get the probes down there to test directly from the board, and then we'll test each individual contact. I definitely don't recommend doing this if you have it open and exposed. Actually, let's see. Not getting anything out of there, but it might be difficult to actually hit those spots. So instead we'll do the connector itself. Maybe because I didn't have it set to the correct range. $11.84, 11.84, 11.84, so that's basically 12 volts. So this is getting 12 volts. The power supply is probably fine itself, which means that the issues with the Xbox not powering on are more than likely within the console itself, unfortunately. So hopefully the cleaning I give it will fix the issues. There's definitely some corrosion on the board and definitely on the inside shielding, so I'm hoping I can get that cleaned up, which we'll show in the next footage. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hook up as much as I need to, which includes a heatsink and a fan and everything, to try to get it powered on just to see if it works, because if I can't get it working yet, then I'm going to have to make a decision as to whether troubleshoot that or say, yeah, can't go any further with it. Since the power supply itself does work, this should be at least getting power of some sort. I've seen some YouTube videos before of systems that didn't work due to damaged ports or what have you, but it still gets some kind of power. You can still hear the power button beep or a light comes on, something like that. It's not a guarantee, of course, but I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble as much as I can to get it ready to hook up to a television and power on. It would have to be here since that's where the connector is, and I believe this just goes like so. Perfect. So let's get some thermal paste here and go ahead and critique all you want. I'm going to put the amount that I feel is appropriate. So all right, let's get it hooked up to a TV and see what happens. Okay, got to do a little bit of handheld action here. So Pardon the shakiness. Alright, so here goes nothing. You're not going to hear any sound if it works because the monitor itself has DVI, VGA, and DisplayPort, but no HDMI. And I don't have a DisplayPort to the HDMI adapter, but I do have an HDMI to DVI. So let's see. Nothing still. So that's interesting. Make sure that the surge protector is on. All right, let me try making sure that this is actually secured. So yeah, no luck. I'm not even getting any voltage readings out of the power supply itself. We know we tested it earlier and it was providing 12 volt, well, 11.95 I believe, so close enough. But I cannot get this to turn on at all. I haven't tried inserting a disc. That didn't work, so either this thing is completely toast or I've got to take a look at least at the power regulation on the board and see if I can figure that out. So sadly, I don't think I'm going to be able to save this one. There's too many shorts, first of all, and I probably should have just done it at the beginning, but I figured I'd give it a cleaning first just in case it was just shorting due to corrosion. Maybe there still is some corrosion that's causing shorts. I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner to really clean the board, unfortunately, well enough. But I'm going to bet it's safe to say that this is probably just toast. Just about every capacitor on here is shorting. Unfortunately, well, not all of them, but quite a few of them. And I'd even realized this before I missed it. There's a little bit of rust on the SATA connector. Not that that should matter, but you know, so unfortunately this is probably not salvageable. Unfortunately, that's probably it. So yeah, these can't all be winners, unfortunately. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, but I'll probably release it at some point. But if you guys have any questions or any comments or anything, any suggestions, I don't know what the original owner wants to do with this, but in the event that they hold on to it and you guys have some tips, maybe I can try it in the future. Otherwise, that's it for this video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down, but please leave a comment below as to why so I can try to use that to help things going forward. And as usual, feel free to subscribe, but there's never an obligation, but I do appreciate it. Otherwise, thanks all. I'll catch you later.